Let us solve latest CBSE sample paper section B. The instruction says that it consists of 20 questions of 1 mark each, which are MCQs. Any 16 are to be attempted. Here we shall be solving all the 20. But in the exam, you should not try to attempt all the 20 in the first go. First you attempt 16 only. Leave any 4 questions in which you feel there is a lot of calculation involved. And in case you are left with time, you can think of over attempting. Now let's straight go to question number 21. It says if sum of two numbers is 1 to 15 and their HCF is 81, then what is the possible number of pairs of such numbers? Since HCF is 81, so let the two numbers are 81x and 81y. Because their HCF is 81, so I can let 81 is the multiple of both. And their sum is given to be 1 to 15, which gives me 81x plus 81y is equal to 1 to 15. On solving, I get x plus y is equal to 15. If I divide throughout by 81, I get x plus y is equal to 15. Now the possible pairs are 1 and 14, 2 and 13, 3 and 12, whose sum is 15, alright, 4 and 11, 5 and 10, 6 and 9 and 7 and 8. These are the possible pairs because 8 and 7 is same as 7 and 8. Here order is not does not matter. So these are the possible pairs. But out of which I have to select co-prime pairs. Why do I need to select co-prime pairs? Because 81 is the HCF and otherwise taking 81 common, x and y are co-prime. Right? So co-prime pairs is my answer. So 1 and 14, yes. 2 and 13, yes. 3 and 12, no, because their HCF is 3 also. If I consider as 3 and 12, then HCF will not remain only 81. 4 and 11, yes. 5 and 10 is again, 5 is a common factor, so we will not count it. In 6 and 9 also, 3 is a common factor, we shall not count it. 7 and 8, yes. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 is the correct answer. So C option is the correct answer. So C is the correct option. Question number 22 says, given is the graph representing two linear equations by AB and CD. Find the area of triangle formed by these two lines and x is equal to 0. So x is equal to 0 means y-axis. So we have to find the area by these two lines and the y-axis. So what is the base? Base is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. And what is the height? Height is here. This is 1, 2, 2 units. Alright. So area will be half into 6 into 2 units. Right? So 6 square units, that is C is the correct option. Question number 23 says if tangent alpha plus cot alpha is 2, then value of tangent raised to power 20 alpha plus cot raised to power 20 alpha will be what? Now see here, the first trick is that you apply logic. That what values of tangent alpha plus cot alpha, what pair makes it 2? It can be only 1 plus 1. So the logic says tangent alpha should be 1, cot alpha should be 1. So that means here if I say tangent raised to power 20 alpha means 1 raised to power 20 plus 1 raised to power 20. That is 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. Now this is a shortcut logic trick. But let us go in for the detailed method also. If tangent alpha plus cot alpha is equal to 2, may I say that tangent alpha plus 1 upon tangent alpha is equal to 2. I have written cot alpha as 1 upon tangent alpha. Let me make an equation out of it. Tangent square alpha plus 1. I have taken tangent alpha as LCM is equal to 2, which gives me tangent square alpha plus 1 is equal to 2 tangent alpha. And you can also reach from this step to this step directly by taking tangent alpha LCM throughout. Alright, now bring 2 tangent alpha to left hand side. Tangent square alpha plus 1 minus 2 tangent alpha is equal to 0. Let me rearrange. Tangent square alpha minus 2 tangent alpha plus 1 is equal to 0. Let us apply the splitting of middle term. So I get tangent square alpha minus tangent alpha plus 1 is equal to 0. So this gives you tangent alpha minus 1 into tangent alpha minus 1 is equal to 0. Or you can directly also reach here from here. It is tangent alpha minus 1 whole square is equal to 0. So from both the cases we get the value of tangent alpha as 1. So I hope you understand it. Once we get tangent alpha as 1, so if tangent alpha is 1, obviously cot alpha is reciprocal of tangent alpha, it is also 1. Now again you can apply this. I need to have tangent raised to power 20 alpha means 1 raised to power 20 plus 1 raised to power 20, so 1 plus 1 2, which gives me B as the correct option. In question number 24, we are given two equations and we have to find the value of x and y. Now there is something special about these two equations. What is that? Firstly, the coefficients are too big. Secondly, coefficient of x in one equation is coefficient of y in the other equation. And coefficient of y in first equation is coefficient of x in the other equation. So this is speciality about this question. In this we shall simply add both the equations. Adding both I get 217x plus 131x, 348x. Then 131y plus 217y will again be 348. Y is equal to 913 plus 827. I get 1740. Now if I divide throughout, there is one more speciality of this question, that this number will definitely be multiple of this number which will be common. So if I divide throughout by 348, I shall be getting 1x plus 1y is equal to 5. Now, so our question is also this: what is the value of x plus 5? So the value of x plus y is 5, hence A is the right answer. But suppose here it completes our question, but suppose you have to find the value of x and y, then what we do is, then we subtract both the equations. We subtract both the equations, and on subtracting I get 86x minus 86y is equal to 86. And on dividing throughout by 86, I get x minus y is equal to 1. And now this and this equation, the very small equation, even by looking at them you can tell that x will be equal to 3 and y will be equal to 2. So this is in case you have to find the solutions. Question number 25 says LCM of two prime numbers p and q, where p is more than q, is 221. Find the value of 3p minus q. So to get the value of 3p minus q, we must know what is p and what is q. Now we know that the formula related to this question is LCM into HCF, first number into second number, right? So here LCM is given to be 221, and since they are prime numbers, so HCF must be 1. You can say this is equal to p into q. Now we get that product of p and q is 221, so let us factorize 221. There are two factors of 221, that is 13 into 17 is equal to p into q. So this clearly gives us the values of p and q as 13 and 17. We don't have any confusion or option that we can have some other number. So p and q are 13 and 17, but we are given that p is more than q. Therefore p must be 17 and q must be 13. And we are supposed to get the value of 3p minus q, which gives me 3 into 17 minus 13, or 51 minus 13. Clearly 38 is the right option and C is the right answer. This is just to make you understand that I am writing so much. In the exam you can always skip the steps, you can do them verbally. Like if you are written here 51 minus 13, don't write 38 here, simply tick the option and you can save time upon that. In question number 26, a card is drawn from a well shuffled deck of cards and we have to find the probability that it is neither a king nor a queen. Now how many kings are there? How many kings do we have? 4. How many queens are there in the deck of cards? 4. And what is the total number of cards in a deck of cards? It is 52. And what are our favorable cases? Favorable cases will be 52 minus 4 minus 4. That is 44. So probability will be 44 upon 52. That is 11 upon 13. So 11 upon 13, I get A as the right answer. Question number 27 says, two fair dice are rolled up simultaneously. Find the probability that 5 will come up at least once. At least once means that out of both, there must be one 5. There can be two 5s also. Now see, there is no time to make the sample space for 36 cases. You know that when two dice are rolled, the total number of cases are 36. We don't have the time. I'll tell you a shortcut to make this sample space. Just write down, just make these two perpendicular axis types and write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and also write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you don't need to jot down each and every case, you simply can calculate. See, in the first line 1, 5, 5 will come up only in one case. Again in two line, again one case. In the line of 3, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 3, 5, 3, 6. Again there is a one case. In this line, again there is a one case. In the line of 5, 5 is coming up in all of them. So there are 6 cases. And 5 will also be the case because they are saying at least once. Maximum times there is no mention. So we shall take all the 6 cases. And in the 6th line there will be only one case. So all in all we have 11 favorable cases out of 36. So B will be the right option. So this is the way you can do it in a very short time. You don't need to jot down all the cases. This gives you a glimpse of all the cases. Question number 28 is a very good question. It says if 1 plus sine square alpha is equal to 3 sine alpha cos alpha, then find the values of cot alpha. There are two methods to it. See, in first method we know that I need to make an equation in sine and cos, right? So I will replace the value of 1 by the value of sine and cos, which is sine square alpha plus cos square alpha. So in place of 1 I write sine square alpha plus cos square alpha plus sine square alpha is already there. I'll bring this to left hand side, minus 3 sine alpha cos alpha is equal to 0. So this gives me 2 sine square alpha, and keeping this in between 3 sine alpha cos alpha plus cos square alpha is equal to 0. Now here we shall follow the method of splitting the middle term. If I multiply these two terms, what do I get? The product of AC is 2 sine square alpha cos square alpha. I split this into two parts such that the sum gives me minus 3, right? And product gives me 2. So I will split it as minus 2 sine alpha cos alpha minus 1 sine alpha cos alpha. Now on addition this is giving me the middle term, and on multiplication this is giving me the product AC. So this is just based on splitting the middle term. I am replacing the values minus 2 sine alpha cos alpha minus 1 sine alpha cos alpha plus cos square alpha is equal to 0. Out of these two I take 2 common, sine alpha common. I am left with sine alpha from here and cos alpha minus cos alpha from here. This minus as it is I am copying. Again out of these two cos alpha is common. I am left with sine alpha from here plus minus minus. 1 cos alpha goes out, 1 cos alpha is left. And students, if this is coming to be same, means you are on the right track. If this is not same, so either you are doing a mistake or you have to follow some other method, right? So again taking sine alpha minus cos alpha common, I am left with 2 sine alpha from here and minus cos alpha from here is equal to 0. Now clearly if product of two terms is 0, one of them must be 0. So either sine alpha minus cos alpha is equal to 0, which gives me sine alpha is equal to cos alpha. Bringing cos alpha to left side, I get sine alpha over cos alpha is equal to 1. That means tangent alpha is equal to 1, and which gives me cot alpha is equal to 1. Or you can take reciprocal here only, okay? You can take reciprocal here only. Now, if this is 0, then 2 sine alpha minus cos alpha is equal to 0. 2 sine alpha is equal to cos alpha. 2 is equal to cos alpha over sine alpha. And what is cos alpha over sine alpha? Cot alpha. So this gives me cot alpha is equal to 2, and this gives me cot alpha is equal to 1. So clearly 1 and 2, that is C is the right option. And I told you there is one more method. So I will tell you that also, because here we are just practicing it, we are not having any binding of time. So since I need the value of cot alpha, I will try to reduce this equation to the equation in cot. So what I do is I divide the given equation by sine square throughout, right? I divide the given equation by sine square throughout. Let's see what do I do. My given equation is 1 plus sine square alpha is equal to 3 sine alpha cos alpha. So dividing by sine square alpha throughout. Now why have I divided with square? Because there is an identity of cosec square minus cot square theta is equal to 1. So identities are there in the square only. In the single degree we don't have identity. So 1 by sine square alpha is cosec square alpha plus 1 is equal to, here 1 sine gets cancelled. I am left with 3. I am left with cos upon sine, which is cot alpha. Now it seems that I can convert this equation to cot. Cosecant square alpha can be written as 1 plus cot square alpha plus 1 is already there is equal to 3 cot alpha. This gives me cot square alpha plus 2 is equal to 3 cot alpha, or cot square alpha minus 3 cot alpha plus 2 is equal to 0. Now again let's split the middle term. Cot square alpha minus 2 cot alpha minus 1 cot alpha plus 2 is equal to 0. Cot alpha common, I am left with cot alpha minus 2 minus 1 common. I am left with cot alpha minus 2 is equal to 0. Again cot alpha minus 2 is common. I am left with cot alpha minus 1 is equal to 0. Now again product of two terms is 0. So either cot alpha minus 2 is equal to 0, giving me cot alpha is equal to 2, or cot alpha minus 1 is equal to 0, giving me cot alpha is equal to 1. So again I am getting the options as 1 and 2, hence C is the correct option. Now for question number 29, vertices of a parallelogram in an order are given to us. So let us draw the rough figure. And in an order word is very important. So here A is 1 comma 2, B is 4 comma Y, C is to be taken here, not here. This is the most common mistake all the kids do. This is x comma 6 and D is 3 comma 5, and we have to find the value of x and y. So see here, if you will try to apply distance formula, it will take you a long time. What we are going to do is, we shall apply the rule that midpoint of AC is same as midpoint of BD, because diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. So what is midpoint of AC? Straightway writing x plus 1 by 2 comma 2 plus 6 plus 2 by 2. What is the formula I am applying here? I am applying the formula x1 plus x2 by 2 comma y1 plus y2 by 2. This is the formula for midpoint. Alright. So this is equal to, let us write down midpoint of BD, 4 plus 3 by 2, that is 7 by 2 comma y plus 5 by 2. You can eat the steps in the exam. It is very important that you do verbally. I am writing each and every step just to make you understand. Right, now just compare the coefficients of x and y. If I compare the coefficients of x, see, you can do it verbally. 2 and 2 will get cancelled, x will be equal to 7 minus 1, 6. So I don't need to solve it. It's just for you guys, I am trying to write it. 7 by 2, x comes out to be 7 minus 1, 6. And if you compare these two, this is 2 and 2 gets cancelled, 8 minus 5, y will come out to be 3. I hope you can understand this. So 6 comma 3, the very first option, A option is our right answer. In question number 30, we are given that angle ACB is equal to angle CDA. And AC is 8, AD is 3, we have to find out BD. So let us consider any two triangles which can be proven similar. Since we are given angle ACB and CDA to be equal, so let us consider these two triangles only. In triangle ACB and triangle CDA. So angle ACB itself is equal to angle CDA and angle A is equal to angle A common. So triangle ACB is similar to triangle. Now here we must write the proper order. Since angle A is equal to angle A, so in CDA we have to write A first, and then angle C is equal to angle D. So in place of C we shall have D. and we are left with C. So this is the right order in triangle ACB. Therefore, triangle ACB is similar to triangle ADC by double A rule. Now let us write down the required ratio. I have AC first two alphabets upon first two alphabets. AC upon AD is equal to second two alphabets, that is BC upon DC. Now we don't have BC, we don't have DC, so we can omit this. Then corner alphabets, that is AB upon corner alphabets, that is AC. So now I can put in the values. AC is given to be 8, AD is 3, AB I don't have, and AC is again 8. So on solving this, I get that AB is equal to 8 into 8, 64 by 3. Now if AB is 64 by 3, but I am supposed to find out BD. So BD will be 64 by 3 minus 3, right? BD is what? AB minus AD. So 64 by 3 minus 3, which gives me, by taking LCM, 64 minus 9 upon 3, that is 55 upon 3. So do I have the option? Yes. C is the correct answer. Let's see question number 31. Equation of perpendicular bisector of the line segment joining points A, 4, 5 and B minus 2, 3 is. Now we'll just draw it at random, and I have to tell the equation of perpendicular bisector. So whatever will be the perpendicular bisector, let P is a point on it. Right? Now please do not consider that it is only the midpoint. It is perpendicular bisector of AB. So let P is any point lying on perpendicular bisector, and coordinates of P are x, y. So if you remember, PA is equal to PB. Alright? P is equidistant from A and B. This we have done in class 9th. For the proof, you can prove triangle PAM congruent to PBM. Angle M is equal to angle M 90 degree each. AM is equal to BM by construction. They are perpendicular bisector, and PM is common. So P is equidistant from A and B, hence I have PA is equal to PB. If PA is equal to PB, so PA square is also equal to PB square. Alright, then let us apply PA square, x minus 4 whole square plus y minus 5 whole square, and square root is getting cancelled with this square, so we don't need to write it. PB square is x plus 2 whole square plus y minus 3 whole square. See, writing BP and PB is one and the same thing, okay? So now just solve it. I have a square plus b square minus 2ab plus a square plus b square minus 2ab is equal to a square plus b square plus 2ab and a square plus b square, that is 3 square minus 2ab. I hope you can solve it. So now this x square and y squares are getting cancelled out. I have minus 8x and this minus 4x comes to left hand side. Then minus 10y and this minus 6y becomes plus 6y. Then 16 plus 25 is 41 and 9 plus 4 13 on left hand side becomes minus 13 is equal to 0. Now I just need to solve it out. So I am left with minus 12x minus 4y plus 28 is equal to 0. I can divide throughout by 4. 4 is common in all. It will get me minus 3x minus y plus 7 is equal to 0. And if I again multiply throughout by negative, I can get 3x plus y minus 7 is equal to 0. Now let's tally the option. 3x plus y minus 7 is equal to 0. Clearly D is the right answer. Let's get to question number 32. It says in the given figure D is midpoint of BC. Then value of cot y upon cot x is dash. Now we know that formula for cot theta is base upon perpendicular. So we need to write the value of cot y degree upon cot x degree. Cot y degree is base. Base is AC and perpendicular for y is BC. Right? So I have AC upon BC divided by what is cot x degree? Now base is again AC and perpendicular is now CD. So AC upon CD. Now let us reciprocate it. we get that AC upon BC into CD upon AC, which gives me CD upon BC. Now see, D is the midpoint of BC, so CD can be written as half BC. AC and AC gets cancelled. CD can be written as half BC upon BC. So 1 by 2 is the answer, and which gives me B option as correct answer for question number 32. Now question number 33 says the smallest number by which 1 by 13 should be multiplied so that decimal expansion terminates after 2 decimal places. See, it is 1 by 13. First of all, for terminating, 13 should not be there, 13 should be removed, so it will be multiplied by 13. Secondly, we want 2 decimal places, so we need 100 in denominator. So 13 by 100 is the smallest number by which it should multiply, so that it terminates after 2 decimal places. Hence, A is the correct answer. Question number 34 says that sides AB and BE of a right triangle ABE, which is right angled at B, they are of length 16 and 8 centimeter. So find the side of largest square FDGB which can be inscribed in the triangle ABE. So we are supposed to find out this side. Let each side is X. So we are supposed to find out X. So for this, let us prove that triangle AFD is similar to triangle DGE. Now for MCQ you don't need to write everything, but what will be the matching parts? Angle 1 will be equal to angle 2, 90 degree each, and angle 3, that is angle A, will be equal to angle 4. Angle 3 will be equal to angle 4. Reason? Corresponding angles, right? Because DG is parallel to AB. Since both of them are perpendiculars to the same line, so DG is parallel to AB and angle 3 will be equal to angle 4. So the triangles are similar by AA rule. Let us write down the desired ratios. I have AF upon DG is equal to DF upon GE. Now what is the value of AF? See, if this is X, can I say that AF is 16 minus X? DG is already equal to X. DF is already equal to X. And GE, can I say that this total is 8 and this is X? So can I say that GE is 8 minus X? So this gives me an expression in X. And I can simply solve it by cross multiplying. 16 minus X into 8 minus X is equal to X square, which gives me, just multiply 128. Minus 16x minus 8x means minus 24x. Minus x into minus x means plus x square. You can also do it in a single step. Now this gets cancelled and I am left with minus 24x is equal to minus 128. If negatives are also cancelled, I get x is equal to 128 by 24. And on cancellation, I get 16 upon 3. B is the correct answer. I hope you understand this. Question number 35 says point P divides line joining R and S in K ratio 1. So let us draw the rough figure. P divides line joining R. R is minus 1 comma 3 and S, which is 9 comma 8, in ratio K is to 1. Let this point is P. Now ratio is K is to 1. If P lies on x minus y plus 2 is equal to 0, find the value of K. Now see students, there are 3 cases. If P lies on x-axis, I will let it as x comma 0. If it lies on y-axis, I will let it as 0 comma y. And if it does not lie on any axis, then I will let it as x comma y. These 3 are the types for this type of question. Now here, it is not given that it lies on any axis. So we shall let P as x comma y. Now simply let us apply the section formula. So x comma y will be equal to, now for x, just concentrate yourself on x coordinates. Now minus 1 and 9, these are the x coordinates. And you have to cross multiply it, mind it. You have to cross multiply. So for writing x, k into 9 plus 1 into minus 1. When writing for x, don't look at y. And you have to cross multiply. Just these two things you have to remember. Upon k plus 1. This is the x coordinate. Now let us write down y coordinate. Now focus only on y. K into 8. K will be multiplied with 8. So k into 8 plus 1 into 3 divided by k plus 1 and a bracket. So this is the section formula. I hope it is clear to you. Now let's solve it a little. I get 9k minus 1 over k plus 1 and 8k plus 3 over k plus 1. Now what is the speciality of this point? Had it been on x-axis x comma 0, then we would have put this is equal to 0. If it was on y-axis 0 comma y, we would have put this is equal to 0. But now we are given that this point P lies on this line. So we shall put these values in this line. See, what do I get? I get 9k minus 1 upon k plus 1 minus y. So minus 8k plus 3 upon k plus 1 plus 2 is equal to 0. Now my purpose is just to solve this. Alright. Now for this, let us take k plus 1 LCM throughout. If I am taking k plus 1 LCM, I am left with, this will be multiplied with 1 only, means it is not going to be multiplied at all, 9k minus 1. Minus, this has to be multiplied with 1 only because it has k plus 1 in denominator. But take care of the negative. So I am just putting a bracket here to avoid the mistake. Now it has 1 in the denominator, so 2 will be multiplied with k plus 1 is equal to 0. So this gives you 9k minus 1 minus 8k minus 3 plus 2k plus 2 is equal to, this k plus 1 when multiplied with 0 becomes 0. So this gives you 9k minus 8k is 1k plus 2k, that is 3k. Minus 1 minus 3 minus 4 plus 2, that is minus 2 is equal to 0, or I get that k is equal to 2 by 3. And hence I can say that option A is the right answer. In question number 36, ABCD is a square of side 14 with E, F, G and H as midpoints, and we have to find the shaded area. Now from HF, if I divide this shaded area in two parts, it has upper part as a semicircle. So shaded area, upper part is a semicircle. What about the lower part? Lower part is this shaded area, means area of half square minus area of these two quadrants. So I can say that area of half square minus area of two quadrants, right? So this is the lower area. Can I say, no, I will not put the value straight away. See, here we shall do a little smart work. Area of semicircle you write as it is, plus if I write this as area of half square, I am writing as it is. I am not doing any calculation so far. Can I say that area of two quadrants is same as area of a semicircle? Isn't it? Because the diameter is same. So if you see carefully, these two things get cancelled. I am left only with area of half square, and area of half square will be half into 14 into 14. Alright. So this gives me the answer as 98 centimeter square. Hence C is the correct option. I hope you understand this. In question number 37, we are given a picture of 5 Olympic rings, which is made by 5 congruent circles of radius 1 each, and such that the chord formed by joining points of intersection, means we are talking about which chord? We are talking about this chord. This is also of 1 centimeter, right? And we have to find out this dotted area. Now this dotted area, we have 4 similar dotted areas, 4 congruent dotted areas. One dotted area is equal to 2 segments. You can see if I join these 2 radii, then this is a segment, right? And this is another segment. So in total we have 1, 2, then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In total we have 8 segments. In total we have 8 segments. So actually we have to find out the area of 8 segments, right? So our required solution is area of 8 segments. We know that area of one segment, what is the formula for area of a segment? It is equal to area of sector minus the area of triangle enclosed, right? Now in this case, what will be the triangle enclosed? See, this is 1 centimeter, this is also 1 centimeter, this chord is also 1 centimeter. So triangle OAB becomes equilateral triangle and this angle becomes 60 degrees, right? So our area of sector will be theta. What is the formula? Theta by 360 into pi r square, and area of triangle is equilateral, hence its formula will be root 3 by 4 into r square. Now in this case, theta is 60 upon 360 into pi into radius is 1 minus root 3 by 4 into 1 square. So on cancelling I get pi by 6 minus root 3 by 4. Now this is area of one segment. So area of 8 segments will be 8 multiplied by pi by 6 minus root 3 by 4 centimeters square. Now let us see which option matches. 8 into pi by 6 minus root 3 by 4. Clearly option D is the right answer. In question number 38, if 2 and half are zeros of this, then we have to tell the values of P and R. So let us say sum of the zeros. Let us find out sum of the zeros. Formula for sum of the zeros is minus B over A, right? Now what is sum of zeros otherwise? 2 plus 1 by 2. Using the formula minus B over A, the sum is minus 5 over P, right? So this gives us, applied shortcut trick, 2 to the 4 plus 1, 5 by 2 is equal to minus 5 by P, and on cross multiplying I get P is equal to minus 2. Now let us find out R. For R, let's use product of the zeros because R comes in product. So formula for product of zeros is C by A, right? Now product of zeros is 2 into 1 by 2 also, and it is R by P also. So this gives me R is equal to P, or I can say that R is also equal to minus 2. So which option is correct? P is equal to R is equal to minus 2. Hence B is the right answer. Now question number 39 says circumference of a circle is 100 and we have to find the side of a square which is inscribed in the circle, right? Suppose ABCD is a square and we know that in the square diameter of the circle is the diagonal of the square. Why? Because this angle is 90 and we know that angle in a semicircle is 90. Now circumference is 100 means 2 pi r is equal to 100 centimeter. From here we get r as 100 divided by 2 pi, or I get that 50 by pi. We have to find the side of the square inscribed in the circle. But for side first we will find out the diameter. So diameter comes out to be 2 into 50 by pi, that is 100 by pi. You can also directly get the value of 2r from here. 2r is equal to 100 by pi. So diameter is equal to 100 by pi. You can also directly do it. Now if diameter is 100 by pi, then we know that side is equal to diameter divided by root 2, right? This we have earlier also done in section A. So diameter is 100 upon pi divided by root 2. So our answer will be 100 by root 2 pi. But if we see, there is not a single option of 100 divided by root 2 pi. So what we shall do is we shall rationalize it by multiplying and dividing by root 2. So this gives me root 2 into 100 divided by 2 pi, and 2 gets cancelled and I get 50 root 2 divided by pi. And yes, now I have an option 50 root 2 divided by pi. So C is the correct answer. In question number 40, we have to tell the number of solutions of 3 raised to power x plus y is equal to 243 and 243 raised to power x minus y is equal to 3. So let us take up this one. 3 raised to power x plus y is equal to 243. And if I write 243 as 3 raised to power something, I will write 3 raised to power 5. So this gives me x plus y is equal to 5. This is one equation. And if I take up this one, 243 raised to power x minus y is equal to 3. Again, let's write it as power of 3. it is 3 raised to power 5 into x minus 5 is equal to 3 raised to power 1. So if the bases are same, powers are also we can equate. So 5x minus 5y is equal to 1. This is the second equation. Now if I compare these two linear equations, a1 over a2 is 1 over 5. b1 over b2 is 1 over minus 5. So since a1 over a2 is not equal to b1 over b2, we have a unique solution, right? So one solution is the answer and B will be the right option. So I hope you've understood whole of the sample paper. So please do it. Keep a notebook and a pen with you and do all the questions. You can expect similar or even the same questions in the exam, and also it will help you for the understanding. If you like the video, please do not forget to share among your friends and subscribe it. Above all, happy practicing. Thank you so much.